In this video, I'm going to be comparing two thermal imagers, the Flir One Pro and the Thermal Master P2. So full disclosure guys, Thermal Master did send me this P2 to test out, and I have had the Flir One Pro for like a couple years now, but I will say if they had the P2 back when I bought this, I definitely would have bought this one for a couple different reasons, as you'll see. But one thing I will point out, the P2 is for Android only. However, the P2 Pro can come in either iOS or Android for USB-C, and this Flir One Pro is for iOS only and actually came with the Lightning connector. However, you could get it for Android as well. Thermal Master has told me that the P3 that they're working on will be available in both Android and iOS. And I'm not fully sure if it's gonna be two separate devices or one device that works with both, because the new iPhones 15 and 16 use the USB-C, so it'd be cool if they had one product that worked for both. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed. And you can see some of the specs on the side. Definitely has some nice packaging. Starting out, we have the documentation, like the instructions, and a little information card. And then we have the USB-C cable. And here is the P2 itself, and this is actually the case. This thing is super tiny. It's almost like keychain sized. And then in the bottom of the box, we have a little carabiner that you can attach. The case is pretty nice. It has this little metal ring and then a plastic on each side. And I like how this has a little spring-loaded catch, so it doesn't easily open. If you have it like on a keychain, you don't lose it or it just opens randomly, but it seems really sturdy, and you have to press pretty hard on this catch before you can open it. And it has a little piece of foam right there to hold it so it doesn't like wiggle around inside there. And first thing I notice is that it's all metal construction. Feels like some kind of aluminum, but this thing is tiny. They claim it's the world's second smallest thermal camera, which is probably true. I think they have another one, maybe the P2 Pro, that's a little smaller possibly. It's tiny, but it definitely doesn't feel cheap. So here is the size comparison, and here is a quarter to give you a better idea, and then also a key fob. It is definitely keychain sized, whereas the Flir One Pro really isn't, especially when you have it in the case. So as far as the specs go, the Flir One Pro cost around $400, and the Thermal Master P2, if you use the coupon code down in the description below, is around $200. And don't get confused with the Flir One Pro LT. That one does not have a very good temp range. The P2 goes a lot higher. The Flir One Pro has an IR sensor of 160 by 120, and the Thermal Master P2 has an IR sensor of 256 by 192, quite a bit bigger. And also it can be scaled up to 512 by 384 with the X3 button. And I believe that's this Razer X patented AI image algorithm, and it makes things a lot sharper. However, the Flir Ones do have an extra camera on them that kind of make an outline to make the image look a bit sharper. The Flir One Pro has a temperature range of -20 to 400 Celsius, and the P2 has a temperature range of -20 to 600 Celsius. And this is where the Flir One Pro LT definitely falls short. Its temperature range is -20 to 120 Celsius. And the thermal resolution is only 80 by 60. Also, another huge difference is that the Thermal Master P2 has a really good frame rate at 25 FPS, whereas the Flir Ones only have around 9. So that's a pretty big difference. It'll be interesting to test that out. Another big difference between these is the Flir One Pro has an accuracy of ±3 degrees Celsius, and the P2 has ±1.5 Celsius. So one of the biggest reasons I would choose the P2 over the Flir One Pro is actually the battery. The P2 does not have a battery. It uses power from your phone. It only uses 0.3 watts. In the Flir One Pro, you have to charge it up. And I think you get about an hour of runtime. There's a USB-C cable right there. And I'm not a big fan of having a built-in battery because if I don't use it for a long time, get it out and need to use it, the battery could be dead and I have to worry about charging it. And also over time, the battery is going to lose some life. However, with the P2, it just pulls a little bit of power from your phone and you never have to worry about charging it. And if you're using the P2 and your phone battery gets low, you could always use a MagSafe charger with a MagSafe approved case on your Android phone. The Flir One Pro does have this nifty adjustment on the connector, so you can fit your phone perfectly. Like if you have a really thick case, you can lift that up so it fits nice and firmly flush. However, the P2 doesn't have any kind of adjustment. It does have a little bit of a raised section. I wish they would have raised that a little bit more for thicker cases. However, it does fit this Android S20 FE with a case, just barely. And I like how when you plug it in, it automatically opens the app. It just seems to work and it's pretty fast. And of course you can flip it around, takes a few moments. But the app so far seems to be working pretty well on my Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. Also, the app you need for this is called Temp Master. There's another app called Thermal Master, and that's for some of their other devices, but this is the one you want to get. Also, by the way, if you have a super thick case on your phone, you can get one of these USB-C extenders and it'll be able to fit. Or you could just use extension cable. All right, guys, we're gonna do a little bit of a startup test to see which one comes up faster. Get ready, get set, go. And the P2 is definitely the winner. Okay, next let's go through each of the apps, and this is the Flir One Pro. I had to rig it up on this crazy contraption because the new iPhones are USB-C. This had a lightning connector. However, there is an adapter that I was able to get, but it's kind of a pain. And I just have a hot drink and a cold drink set up so you can kind of see the temperature difference. And you can see Flir has the points already set up, and it has a scale from coldest to hottest. You can see the coldest is like 44, hottest is 98. And then over here on the right, it has the point in the middle, the temperature of that, which is 58. And then it has the hottest point in the frame, which is 98. And then the coldest, 43. But anyways, let's go to the settings menu on the lower left-hand side. And it kind of makes it into portrait mode. It tells you the battery of the Flir One Pro, all the device information. You can get cloud storage, I don't have that. And it's kind of nice, it's got inspection guides. And then also some settings. You can change the unit Celsius, Fahrenheit, and the hours. And then the temperature range, we're actually in the higher one. So let's go back to the lower one. The lower usually looks better from my experience. And then emissivity. So I guess it depends on like what kind of material, like if it's metal or wood, it like kind of reflects the heat differently. And that'll just make things a bit more accurate. And it can also save your location with GPS. And it's got help, app, info, some stuff like that. But let's go back to the camera screen. And all the way at the right in the middle has this little up arrow button that brings up some options. We'll start with the mode. And currently we're on the multispectral dynamic imaging that uses both thermal imager and that extra camera. And it kind of just shows you all the detail in the image. Kind of interesting. A lot of times it doesn't actually line up. And I think there is a way somewhere to kind of adjust the alignment. I thought that was in the settings, but I didn't see it. And then you can turn that camera off that shows all the detail if you just want the infrared. And then it just has a regular digital camera that the Flir One Pro is seeing. And then next one is measurement. And it looks like you can bring up some more points. Oh yeah, you can move them around if you want. So if you want to see something like this window, number 2, 58 degrees, or the mug, 97. You can move stuff around. Oh, and you can turn the hottest and the coldest point off too if you want, or turn it all off so you don't have any points of measurement. And then the color, it's got all the different colors. Oh, that's kind of cool. Shows you the coldest, and blue. It's definitely fun to play around with all the coldest. Oh, it shows you the hot. That's nice. But I do like the iron color scheme. All right, and then we'll go to auto manual. And right now we're in automatic mode. And you'll hear the shutter in here when things change. And I guess that's like calibrating the sensor. I'm not exactly sure how thermal imagers actually work. Oh, and you can turn on and off the scale with the eyeball. Here's manual mode. Oh, that's cool. You can manually change the temperature of each color. So if you just want the mug, you can see that. And it also has this feature right here. It has like a clean and then like a speed. So I guess this is just a cleaner image. See, it's not very fast if I move my hand in front of it, but we can change it over. Let's see. It's a little faster maybe. But it doesn't look as good. And then let's check out this button at the lower right end. Oh, this is the camera alignment. See, now we can align the images, but it'll change depending on how far away stuff is. And then of course, we're on video mode, so we can take a little video. Could definitely tell the frame rate on the Flir One Pro is not the best. And then also we can snap some photos. And then the upper left-hand side is where the images and videos go. And I believe also they go to your photos as well. That's about all the settings on the Flir One Pro app. All right, now let's compare that to the P2. And we can go back to the main screen and we'll find some settings as well. We've got feedback, FAQ, if you have some questions. I guess you can log in. I'm not sure if they have a cloud service or not. Nothing I would really use anyways. Then we can go to device details and then image settings, automatic shutter. And I think this is where it calibrates the sensor. You'll hear it every once in a while when things change, click. I believe that's what that is. But apparently you can manually calibrate it. Then video recording sound switch, video automatic shutter switch. Split screen. I tried this and it just put lines like on the screen, basically like your rule of thirds, and then a time display, so that could be useful. But we'll go back and then temperature setting, and it's got burn protection. That's kind of interesting. Right now I have it in Fahrenheit temperature alarm. That's kind of neat. And then variable correction. Oh, that's interesting. So you can kind of set it up for what kind of material, so it's super accurate. That's definitely pretty nice. But for now, I'm just gonna leave that alone. Then we'll go back to the camera. So back on the camera screen, you'll notice we have it in landscape mode. However, some of the stuff isn't really turned into landscape. It's kind of portrait, but it's not a huge deal. But the little button on the upper left is a shutter button, and this will calibrate things. So calibration successful. And then over here we have the temperature range. I like having this right here so you don't have to go back through the settings like the Flir. That's really nice. You have auto mode. That's pretty cool. I don't think the Flir had that, but we'll just keep it in the lower mode. If you put it in the higher mode, you will see it doesn't look quite as sharp, but that's the same with the Flir. And then next to that, we have the X3 button, and that makes it a lot more sharp. If I turn that off, see, it gets a lot softer, and then turn it back on. It's a really nice image. It's definitely a different approach than the Flir that uses an extra camera, but I kind of like how it just sharpens it up and it looks really clean. And then something you can do in this app that you can do with the Flir is zoom in, which is pretty cool. You can zoom in on that cold drink there and zoom out. But anyways, let's go down here to the bottom and we'll start with the upper right button. Then we have brightness. Well, that's kind of cool. So if you just want to see just the mug, it's a little easier than doing it on the Flir. But for now, we'll just leave that at 50%. And then the next one is the contrast. You can change that. I actually like that a little higher. And then the scale, you can turn that on. And just like the Flir, it'll show you the high and the low for the colors. 93 and a 57 for the lowest. And then you can mirror it. And then up here, you can rotate the image, which is kind of nice, especially if you use that extension cord and you have it in a different position. You can just rotate it to where you want it. Flir didn't seem to have any kind of option like that. But anyways, next let's go to the button here. And this turns on like a little overlay. So that's kind of cool. You can actually drag it around on the screen and you can change the opacity, which is kind of nice. And you can change how big it is if you want to do that. Let's give you an idea of like what you're looking at. And then the next one is the recording function. So we can take a video, just like the other one. You can definitely tell the frame rate is better on the P2. And it seems to have less lag as well. We can stop that. We can take a picture and then we can check those out in the app. Or this one also saves it to your photos as well. And then the next button, we can change the colors. So just like the Flir One Pro, I kind of like the white hot one. This one also has a black hot as well. It's like the opposite. Has the iron red hot. That just looks kind of cool right there. And then a whole bunch of different ones. I like this one, low light. It looks like night vision. That's pretty cool. I think this one has more colors. Correct me if I'm wrong, but definitely fun to play around with. So the next button, and this is where you do all the measurements right here. It starts with them off, but you can do a point. So you can just click on the screen, P1, tells you the temp, 66 degrees right there. Put it over to the hot cup, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Then if we click the screen again in a different location, it'll give us another point, P2. The cup is around 60 degrees, 57, depends on where you put it. And then we can do another one. We'll look at the window, 64 degrees. Let's see if we can, oh, it just kind of cycles through them. So 3 points. You can go up to delete just to get rid of them really quick. This is cool, you can do a line. So you draw a line through both the cups and it'll tell you the average and also the maximum and the minimum. So you can see where the hot and cold are on the drinks and delete that. We can do it a rectangle. We'll just do a big rectangle and I'll show you the max and the minimum and the average. And even with that up, we can still do points. So we can add points on here. It shows you all of those. Delete that and then circle. It's kind of like the rectangle, but that's pretty cool. You can see the high and low points in the circle. And right here, you can change the font color, which is kind of handy. Like if you can't see it, you can change it to like red or whatever color you want. It's nice how it'll display the measurements in the correct position. That's pretty cool. But anyways, that's about it for this app. Next, let's check the frame rate and the lag for each of these thermal cameras. And check that out. That is like a huge difference. Especially with the lag. Like you see it on the P2 way before the Flir One even shows up. So the P2 has very little lag actually, and it looks like an actual video, which is pretty cool. So if I move back and forth, but yeah, the P2 definitely is the winner in that regard. No question about it. All right, guys, now let's have a little bit of fun so you guys can see the footage side by side between these two thermal imagers. We're just looking at some curtains right now. I just had a cup of coffee and you can see they're picking up on about the same exact thing. But let's kind of go around the house and take a look. Let's check out the water heater. And you can actually see those lines on the Flir One Pro disappear because it's too dark for the main camera to overlay those. Can't really see anything. And we'll come around here, take a look at the furnace. Wow, that is a big difference on how the image looks. They're pretty close, but you can see the hottest point on the Flir One is 77, 78, and the max on the P2 is about 82. So it's a little off. The P2 does a really good job at making it look sharp without having to use a second camera. Here is a freezer. That is super cool. You can see the refrigerant circuit. And you can see it on this side as well. Take a look inside. Super cold. You can see those fluorescents are pretty warm. I'm sure you guys have seen this trick or done it if you have a thermal imager. You just put your hand there and your handprint stays. And I have the oven on to 500 degrees. You can see it's definitely pretty toasty. Oh, and I just got a burn protection notification on the P2. Let's go ahead and change the settings to the higher level on each one. Okay, I switched each camera to the higher temp settings. And you can see the max on the P2 is almost 600 degrees. And the Flir One Pro is about 550. But that is picking up the part where the flame is, so the actual oven may not be that hot. Look down there on 0.1. That says about 300 degrees on the P2. Yeah, it just depends on where you put that spot, because there is a bit of a variable in the oven. But that is pretty interesting to take a look. Alright, I'll just switch back to the lower temp setting. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look around the house. Oh, this is cool. So you can tell the lava lamp was on earlier, even though it's off right now, because it's still kind of warm. At about 80 degrees on the P2 and 76 on the Flir One. And you can see this laptop is a bit warm. It's supposed to be sleeping, but apparently it's still a little toasty. You can actually feel that it's warm when I put my hand on it. And you can see how the thermal imagers pick up the reflection. That's actually the heat from the lights that's reflecting off the table. You'll really see that in glass and mirrors. Like right now we're looking in a mirror and it completely reflects just about. And we can go over here. You can see the espresso machine still warm because I used it earlier to make some coffee. But man, I just like the look of the P2 a lot better than the Flir One. I think it's just so much cleaner. Let's go outside for a little bit. It is very cold, very snowy. See if there's any animals out here. But here we are at the chicken coop. Let's make sure the chickens are alive. Got some chickens. You can see where they're losing all their heat out of their face and feet. Alright, good night, little chickens. Alright, I'll turn around. There's the house. You can see where a lot of the heat is coming out. And I was going to start a car up and kind of show the exhaust manifolds, because that's an amazing way to find a misfire very quickly, is with the thermal imager. So you can see which cylinder is misfiring. You don't have to rely on the computer. Sometimes that's not always accurate, or it takes a while to register. Oh, look at that. That's cool. You can actually see my footsteps. Like they're warm. That's neat. There's my reflection in the glass. I did not think you would see the footsteps. Well guys, hands down, the P2 is definitely the winner in my book. Just pretty much wins in every regard. I mean, it doesn't have that camera that outlines everything, but that X3 button really sharpens things up, and I think it looks better, in my opinion, than all of the lines. But again, it's like half the price. It's also a quarter of the size. You don't have to worry about the battery not being charged or going bad after a long period of time. You get more resolution. There's way less lag with the P2, plus you get a lot more frames per second or hertz. It's equivalent to an actual video at like 25 frames a second, and that was definitely very noticeable. It boots up a lot faster. You just plug it in, you don't have to worry about finding the app and opening it. I mean, it's so much better. If they had this back when I bought my Flir One, I definitely would have got the Thermal Master P2. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I'll probably have some more thermal imaging videos, probably more based on automotive, because that's what I do. Also, I might do some electrical stuff with this as well, because it's really cool to be able to see how much your wires and contacts are heating up and everything. And I'm really looking forward to the P3, and I'm hoping it's one device that works for both iOS and Android, because that would be super awesome. So you don't have to worry about, you know, switching your phone and having to get another thermal camera. But if you're interested in this camera, I'll leave a link down in the description below, and there may also be a coupon code down there for you guys. But thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Peace out.